As one of those places where you can definitely find a peace while looking at this enormous mountain. We will see how this jungle or rice terraces change to these mountain scenarios. Trips like this really change. It forges friendships that are really, really hard to forget. So hi everyone, glad to have you all here. My name is Alberto. I'm a local guide here in Iceland. We are not going to be talking only about Nepal, but also about the Annapurna Circuit Trail. So first of all, a small introduction of myself and my partner, Monica. We have our own adventure travel agency here in Iceland. As I mentioned, this destination, what we are gonna be talking today, Nepal, is quite special for us. And it is because our company actually was born after our first trip to the Annapurna Circuit. Everything that today happens here in Iceland, in the Four Islands and in Nepal was forged somehow while we were hiking the Annapurna Circuit many years ago. We are both mountain and glacier certified guides, and after so many years of doing the trips that other companies, big companies, were telling us to do, we decided to take our own path and start guiding the trips that we love, the trip that we like to do in our free time, and to show the people the most remote and the most authentic places. So at the end, every tour has been crafted by us while exploring, and our opinion gives a bit more of personality and authenticity to each trip. So what we are going to be covering today, Nepal, we are going to do an overview of the country. Then we will move to the Annapurna Circuit itself. We will talk about the trail. We're going to be talking about also how is it going to be like the first days arriving to Kathmandu and the end of the trail, not just only the trail. And then we will talk about the physical and mental challenges, including the altitude sickness. That is something that most of the people you guys want to hear about while thinking about coming to Nepal. Then we will talk about how do we do everything, so the logistics of this trip, and then overview of 2022 trips. And then it will be time for the Q&A, so it will be your time for asking. So let's start about this. This is Nepal, a small country located between India and Tibet. Possibly, I think it's considered for many as a trekker's paradise. Basically, because the country combines in just 148,000 square kilometers, the huge Himalayas full of different trails everywhere. You have jungle views, you have rice terraces, you have in the south, close to India, Chitwan that is full of wildlife like rhinoceros, you have also tigers, you have plenty of things. You have several temples of different religions and even medieval cities. So I would say that Nepal has it all at the end. And as we were mentioning before, these days, thanks to Netflix, Nepal is in everyone's mind because of the new 14 Peaks movie with Nirmal Purya. If you haven't watched it yet, I would say that you have some homework after this webinar, so you will get a bit more inspired. The Nepal International Airport is located in Kathmandu, here in the south, well, more in the south, almost in the center of the country. The first time I stepped off the plane when I arrived in Kathmandu, it was quite shocking for me. So Kathmandu has nothing similar to other cities around the world. You can feel being in the middle of an old town, but at the same time it is full of lights, signs, and with a bit of crazy traffic jam. It has a lot of tiny alleys that lead you to several amazing sites, but at the same time you have hundreds of smells from local bakeries that mix with the spices from thousands of restaurants that normally the tourists go. It has millions of sounds going from people shouting in the street to the car horns beeping everywhere. And then you can find also the deep mantras inside many temples. So somehow it is like, or at least we like to define it like if in the middle of that chaos, Kathmandu finds its own balance and peace. It's quite an interesting city for those who are arriving first time to Asia. If it's your first time in this continent, you are gonna love it at all. I mean, you are gonna be completely in love after this trip. Kathmandu, I would say that some people love it, some people hate it. I would say that most people love it. I mean, not just the streets, not just the temples, not just the highlights like this Bodhanath Square or the Monkey Temple that we are gonna see some pictures afterwards, or the Durbar Square, or the Tamil neighborhood. Everything is full of life. Everything is amazing and everything is different. And then you have the people. They are the most amazing people we have ever known. They are, with no doubt, the people with the eternal smile, with the never ending strength. I haven't found, or I haven't met anyone in the world like them. They are really proud of their traditions. They are friendly, they are warm, and they are overall super welcoming to travelers and to people from other countries. They are very, very respectful with foreign visitors. They are patient and they have a really great good humor. This is one of my favorite photographs. I took it some years ago after the famous earthquake that struck Nepal. It was taken, if I'm not mistaken, in a small village in the mountains, and they're at the end of Annapurna Circuit. These kids were basically playing with us nonstop with the flags of one of the powerful, or one of the most powerful political parties on that time from the region, and they were running up and down, following us through the streets and trying to catch us all the time. And somehow I think that it reflects exactly how the Nepalese people are. Not only the kids, but the adults are the same. They are happy, they are always active, and they have that sparkle on their eyes that is something. Then the Nepalese food, that is, I mean, oh my God. If you have ever traveled with me to any of our destinations, this is something that I always mention. You will always say or hear me say that I've never tried a food as good as the one in Nepal. They are simply masters of cooking, and they can prepare anything with just a few local products, cooking everything with in these traditional kitchens heated by logs on fire. And in some regions, they even don't have these logs for the chimney. They have jagged dry feces. So it's fantastic how they cook and they prepare anything. When I mean anything, I really mean it, because, for example, a couple of years ago, we went to Upper Mustang and we were traveling the region. And when we arrived to Lomantang, that is a small village, just, well, it's the capital of Upper Mustang. We got there and we were suggested to order the pizza. You're not going to believe it, but until now, I think it's the best pizza I've ever had. And it wasn't nothing special, but it was homemade and with local products, full of stuff that even for Italians, stuff that shouldn't be on a pizza, but was amazing, amazing. And I haven't found anything like that until now. But of course, when coming to Nepal, you need to try the local food, such as this, that would be the Tibetan bread, that is Monica's favorite breakfast, with some toppings and a boiled egg. And then, like on the previous screen, I have the dalbat. Dalbat is this dish made of rice and lentil soup that will give you energy for a whole day. And the people, they like to say dalbat power 24 hours. It gives you a strength for continuing the whole day hiking nonstop. And it's really good, really, really good. We like it, for example, having it in breakfast with some boiled egg and with some honey on top of it. It's really, really good. And we also love to drink the tea, homemade tea. Of course, you see this pot and you see like, oh my gosh, this is disgusting. Well, not at all. I mean, this tea is really, really good, really good. And it's homemade tea. In the picture, I would say that this one, if I'm not mistaken, is the spice masala that I love to have that every morning during the trail. Every evening, we normally drink black tea. When we arrive to the accommodation, we are drinking teas all the time, and they are really, really, really good. I bet that some of you might be even thinking or wondering about this famous Tibetan tea that is made of churning tea with salt and jack butter. You can find it on the lodges, but I have to warn you that it's a really strong beverage. So if you dare, you can try it, definitely. But in conclusion, these kitchens are simply magical, and the people, they are the best host that you will ever have. When talking also about Nepal, we talk not only about the people, the landscapes, or the traditions, the culture. We also like to talk, of course, about hiking trails. We mentioned Nepal. We could say that it's almost like a mecca for hikers. There are many regions where you can hike, starting in the far west region, that would be up here, red one, crossing the Dolpa, Annapurna's region, Makalu, Manaslu, Everest, until all the way to the eastern part of the country. At the end, it's a land of endless possibilities. And there's even one trail that goes from west to east, and it takes about 152 days to be done. That's crazy. That's insane. It's really long. I mean, you cross the whole country doing this hiking trail, but it's amazing. It's starting being done couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken. The shortest time that anyone has made it, I think it was 148 days. So if you have time, then, well, you're welcome to go and do this one. But today we're going to be talking about just one trail, that is going to be the Annapurna Circuit. It's, as you can see here, would be here. So it would be like a bit west from Kathmandu. It's possibly one of the best and most beautiful hiking trails in the world, or at least it is for me. How does this trail look like? So we will spend the first 3 days in Kathmandu. You can see here on the bottom of the picture, from to Kathmandu, the first 2 days, sorry. And then the third day, we're gonna come here. We are going to start the hike. From day 6 in advance, we will be over 3,000 meters. So we will slow down a bit in order to prevent altitude sickness. We are going to be talking about the altitude sickness later on. But then on day 11, we'll be crossing from here. That would be high camp all the way to Muktimat. And we are going to be crossing over the Thorungla Pass. It's about 5,416 meters high over the sea level. Then we are going to descend into the lower Muslim kingdom. On day 13, we will take local flight to Pokhara. The Pokhara will be here, is the green one. And from here, we will return to Kathmandu on day 14th, and on 15th, we will leave. Basically, what we do is a 15 days trip. This happens because we think that the most beautiful part of the trail is this one. And then you have a couple of more stages in here if you want to continue on your own. That's something that is possible to do, but we like to do this way. And also because for when you apply for the visa, you have to apply for 15, 30, or 90 days. If you do more than 15, like for example, 20 days of hiking, you are gonna need to apply for 30 days visa, as we had to do the first time we went. Days 1 and 2, but let's talk a bit about day 0 in this case. When arriving in Nepal, you will need to apply for this visa at the airport, unless you can apply for it in the Nepalese embassy in your country. There are some countries that you guys have a Nepalese embassy on your main city, like for example here in Iceland we don't, but in others, in my case, I would need to apply for it when arriving to Nepal. In your case, you would be able to do it. Maybe in the US you can do it straight in the embassy. Canada, I guess so, Australia, many countries in Europe, almost for sure. But in any case, if you do it on arrival, your passport must be valid up to 6 months after your planned departure from Nepal, okay? And you can get, as I said, this 15, 30, or 90 days. You can choose between them. You don't need to choose one specific one. You need to choose the one that applies for your time in the country, okay? So, but then if you need to extend your visa, then you need to go to this immigration office that you have in Kathmandu or in Pokhara. And it's not expensive to extend it, okay? So most of the people, they thought, or they think that, for example, they get a 30 days visa and then they need to be in Nepal for 35 days. They are gonna have some problems. No, you just can go super easy to this immigration office, apply for the new visa, and you're gonna get almost immediately, okay? But what is important to understand is that there's no possibility to extend your visa while on the hike. So for example, let's say that you are coming with us to this Annapurna Circuit Trail, but you arrive 5 days earlier, and then you arrive, or more, and then we start the hike, and in the middle of the trail, you realize that your visa is gonna expire. Well, of course, that's not gonna work. That would be a bit of a problem. So that's why we always, before departing Kathmandu, we check everything, all right? So you are not gonna have any problems with visa or with permits. Just to give you an idea of the prices, last time I went there, that was before COVID. Last time we went there, that it was before COVID. 15 days was about 30 USD, US dollars. 30 days was about 50 US dollars, and 90 days, something like 120, 125 US dollars, if I'm not mistaken. You're gonna have it. It's super easy to get a visa. There's no difficult things. Even during COVID, it's super, super easy to get that. We will welcome you at the airport in Kathmandu, and then we will transfer to the accommodation in the city center. After time to get refreshed, we are gonna have a welcome dinner in one of the typical Nepalese restaurants in the heart of the city. Second day of the trip, we will have some time for discovering all the heritage sites in Kathmandu and these highlights of the city. We are going to be visiting this pilgrimage in the temple of Pasupatina. We are going to be visiting the Monkey Temple also, or the Baudanath Stupa that you saw before. This one with a local guide. So we're going to have like a short city tour in Kathmandu. As I always like to say, it's really important to see Kathmandu for understanding where we are and which are the traditions, even though there are a lot of religions coexisting together and there are many different traditions in the country, that it's really important to know and to understand where you are. But at the same time, we are here for hiking. We are here for the Annapurna Trail. So we're gonna keep moving towards this. Then after this tour, we will have a briefing about the hike. We are gonna be talking about the accommodations, the meals, the equipment. We are gonna be talking about day by day, how the stages are gonna be and everything. And if any of you need any additional gear, like sleeping bag or any puffy jacket or something, this day you will be able to buy in some of the partner stores that we know that the products have really good quality. You might have heard that when going to Kathmandu, you can find like thousands of stores, tiny stores and big stores with gear from North Face, gear from Sportiva, gear from Scarpa, from many brands. Many of these brands, well, they are fake. Quality of the products is not the best, but then you have another brands or another stores that they do have really good gear on really good quality. We have been working this last year with one store, and for example, in my case, I bought in 2017 my sleeping bag. It's a 20 Celsius below zero comfort sleeping bag that normally in Europe could cost something around maybe 300 euros, 400 euros. It cost me 60 euros. I think it's the best purchase I've ever done, to be honest. It's really good sleeping bag. I've used it in here in Iceland during the wintertime when we can get 30 below zero in the highlands. So it's really good. If you need so, we can manage to take you to these stores for buying it, for purchasing the gear you need. And finally, we will meet the local staff and our fellow friends. So they might be the warmest and happier people, as well as the super professional that you will meet during the trip. They are a crew of very experienced, energetic, and passionate young local guides. In this photo, you can meet Anshu Sherpa. He's my dear brother from Nepal and the one who has been guiding with us since our first time in the country. Then at the end of the presentation, you will see also a picture of Suvin Takuri, that he is the owner of the company. He's an amazing person, amazing human, and every time we can have a Zoom with him, it's so great to see his face, and it's one of the most positive people I know in the world. But in this case, talking about Anshu, I would say that is one of the strongest persons I know. Only positivism running through his veins, and always telling stories about the many wonders of each region. We did this picture actually a couple of years ago in Upper Mustin, so it's really amazing. While you are enjoying the Nepalese capital, we will take care of this, that is getting the 2 permits ready for you. For doing the Annapurna Circuit, you need to get the TIMS and the ACAP. So the TIMS would be the Trackers Information Management System, and the ACAP is the Annapurna Conservation Area Project. These 2 permits are completely different. You need to bring 4 photos of yourself, like the one from Monica here. I mean, if you don't bring them, you can also make them here in Kathmandu. Personally, I do recommend you to bring the picture so you will avoid spending time that you can be enjoying in Kathmandu. The last evening in the city, you will have time to relax in the hotel, or if you prefer to enjoy the city on your own. Day 3, we depart from Kathmandu. We go straight to the adventure. We start this trip to the mountains. We leave the city. We leave towards this small village of Beshisahar. It's about 180 kilometers, if I'm not mistaken, from Kathmandu. For example, in the US and Europe, I would say that could be something like maybe 2 hours. But in Nepal, these distances are completely different. It takes about 5 hours in total. So yeah, we are going to be driven on a jeep. So we will avoid being inside these buses, and or our driver will drive us along the Kathmandu Pokhara highway. until the small village of Bunbury. We're going to be seeing during the whole drive this amazing landscape with a lot of waterfalls and rivers and forests. Once there, we will follow the narrow and paved road by the river to the village of Bulbule. We will arrive late in the evening. We will be ready for having dinner at that time. Also, we will review a bit how it's going to be the following day, how it's going to be the trail on the day 4. In the dinner, something that I personally recommend to try if you're there is this rice spirit drink that is locally brewed in the local tea houses. So I have to warn you that it's super strong. I cannot deal with this kind of alcohol, but if you like it, well, you can try to order. We don't recommend drinking in high altitude. So from this day in advance, we don't recommend like having beers or anything like this. So if you want to try it, this is the time on the first day of the hike. Okay. Then on day 4, we will start hiking in these jungle scenarios with suspension wood bridges over the rivers. We will go to the village of Darapani, and where we will have lunch. We will cross through this park in here that is fantastic. We will step into a completely different landscape. We will see how this jungle or rice terraces change to these mountain scenarios. We will continue to this village called Bagarchap. We will definitely feel super small among these giants. It's going to be the first time that we are going to see, or we are going to get the view of the Annapurna 2 on the Lamyu Imal, that are 2 magnificent peaks. I cannot describe it. It's impossible to describe, not even with pictures. I will try a bit later with another one, but I want you to have the idea of how big these mountains can be. Then on day 5 and 6, we will start the hike along this mule track through the forest and the hot springs. There are places where we can find some tiny hot springs. These hot springs we are talking about, they are small. Of course, as you can see in the picture, we'll share the trail with other hikers and locals. There are going to be many suspension bridges that will connect these different sectors of the trail. And during the following 2 days, we'll see how this landscape changes from the terraces, as I said, to this kind of landscape that has this kind of dense alpine forests. This is my favorite town in the Annapurna Circuit. That's Upper Pisan. We have even wondered sometime or dream about staying there for quite a lot. First time we arrived, there were some abandoned houses, and we were like, oh, we should buy these houses and stay here for, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months, rebuild everything. It's such a fantastic valley and place. It's simply amazing. So this would be Upper Pisan, and from here you can get amazing views from the Annapurna 2 on the Pisan Peak. Basically, it's located in this side of a mountain, quite high in comparison with the bottom of the valley, with this kind of houses, like stone houses. So stone houses with flags, beautiful flags everywhere. And you can hear the wind and the Tibetan Buddhist monks praying. It's amazing. It's one of those places where you can definitely find a peace while looking at these enormous mountains. As I said, one doesn't understand the magnitude of this kind of colossus until you're in front of one of them. When you go to the Alps in Europe, or you go to the Rockies, and yeah, you can witness that kind of mountain, and it's really beautiful. But in here in Nepal, it's something else. You start looking from the bottom of the mountain, and you continue all the way up, and you take seconds, to many seconds, to reach the top of the mountain. They are huge. They are impressive, and as I said, the pictures cannot show how amazing and huge they are at all. In many cases, at the end, we really feel super small in these places. And then on day 7 and 8, we will follow the trail that takes us to the villages of Kairu and Nawal. We are going to depart from Pisang. We are going to get to Manang. On the way, we are going to get some of the best views of the mighty Annapurna 2, the Annapurna 4, the Tiletso, and the Pisang Peak. We will do a short stop in this monastery. That is the Braga Monastery. Is the oldest and the largest one in the region. And then we will continue our trek to the largest Tibetan settlement in the region, that is called Manang. It would be this one. Okay. Depending on how the group feels, depending on how we have been doing the last days, the following day we will stay in Manang, or that is what we will prefer to do and what we have been doing this last years. We will continue a few kilometers until the small town of Gunsang. So just to give you an idea, as you can see here, Manang is a really big town. It's full of hikers, and somehow you lose that feeling of being in a remote area of the mountains. It's also where the road ends. So there's a lot of small groups of travelers that can come straight to here, to this tiny town, instead of hiking the whole circuit trail. That's why we don't like staying here. But at the same time, it's one of the places recommended for doing this acclimation day. So the first year when we did the trail, we found ourselves very well dealing with altitude sickness. No side effects, no nothing at all. I would say that that was because we did and we still do a super slow acclimation day by day. And then on that trip, we decided that we did not want to spend one entire day in Manang. So we continued a bit. We didn't walk a lot, we just continued a bit. Just a few kilometers away from the city, we found this small village called Kunsang. That would be this one. Kunsang is really, really, really small. I mean, it's 3 houses, no more. One of these houses has the best terrace facing the Gangapurna and the Annapurna 3 peaks. And for us, I mean, we have been going as much as we can there in every trip because we prefer being there and hearing almost nothing than being in this big city. We think that is somehow the perfect place for this acclimation day. Somehow, I mean, you're gonna be hiking maybe for 1 hour or even less away from Manang, and you can spend the evening drinking tea. You can spend the evening trying this yak cheese that the local family from this tea house lodge they make, and then you can spend the evening sharing stories with your fellow traveler companions until dinner arrives. After all these beautiful landscapes that we have been seeing these last days, we step on days 9 and 10, where we can already feel that we are getting higher and higher and higher, and at the same time we are getting super cold. So you can start feeling how the temperature decreases every night from here in advance. Our trail climbs all the way from Kunsang, is the place where we were staying before, all the way to a small village called Ledar. It goes along the riverside, passing a small village and the meadows where horses and the yak graze. After one night in Ledar, we will go straight to Thorumpedi. So for getting there, you need to cross through Yarkarka, that is this place that is famous because of the herds of yaks that you have all around. And then when you are getting close to Thorumpedi, we will need to cross these last suspension bridges of the area before entering a valley. That would be like northwest part of a valley called Yargenkola. And once we get closer, we're gonna get to this kind of landscape. So we're gonna be hiking through this tiny trail that you can see in the side of the mountain until we arrive to Thorumpedi, okay? Once there in Thorumpedi, we will do one last stop before starting the climb all the way to Haika. That would be this tiny accommodation. So we will come from just below it. The climb is not technical, but is 1 kilometer. You will be thinking like, yeah, 1 kilometer is not that much. Okay, 1 kilometer normally can take up to 2 hours in here. And it is because of the elevation gain. It's not super vertical, but it's really, really, really steep. So this place will be the last place where we will be staying before reaching the highest mountain pass of the Annapurna's mountain range, that is the Thorungla Pass. The views from here are stunning. So before the sun goes down, we will recommend you a short hike to the cliffs over the valley. Then we will stay overnight in this lodge. It's about 4,800 meters over the sea level. So it's gonna be cold during the night. As I said before, if you have the proper sleeping bag, you will sleep warm and cozy as a baby, as I always do. So there should be no problem for you. Anyway, before going to bed, we will plan all together for the next day. We will laugh. We will share a great dinner. Sometimes there are people singing. Sometimes there are groups of hikers sharing stories. So we will be all together. And then the key day arrives. That is reaching the Thorungla Pass. Thorungla Pass is the highest mountain pass in this circuit. It's 5,460 meters high. That would be translated. I did the translation today because I didn't know how much in feet it was. So it's 17,769 feet. So it's pretty high, as you can see. This trail climb gently behind high camp, as you could see on the previous slides. Okay, and after almost 1 hour hiking, we will reach this small tea house that is actually only open during this hiking season. And there's a couple there making tea and noodles and stuff. After that, the trail continues steadily all the time, super steady, but not steeply. Okay, so it's not really steep. But somehow it is like the trail itself is trying to fool us with these endless turns and going up and going down a bit and going up and going down. And then finally we'll see these prayer flags. And afterwards, piles of stones and with this brass plate. So there's a tradition when arriving here that we also like to follow in order to show respect. The Buddhists will throw a stone on this pile and shout "La Soso." La Soso is a chant or like thanking the gods that they allowed a safe passage through the mountains. Okay, this would be the Thorung La Paz. This would be the highest place that we will reach during the trail, during the Annapurna Circuit. After this, we will descend all the way to Muktinat. It is a really long trail. It is all the time through this kind of dry and rocky terrain. We will spend the night in Muktinat. That is this tiny, would be down here in the valley. It's a village, but at the same time, it's a pilgrimage site. And it has been like that for over 3,000 years. And this happens because here the legend or the tradition say that the four elements are united in a natural way. And the thing is that here you can find this small earth fissure where the water and natural gas in shape of a little flame pours out. So you can see fire over the water and at the same time the soil, the earth, and the wind. So yeah, the four elements all united in this kind of natural way. And at the same time, in this place, it's full of ammonite, these fossils that some people claim that they are really direct representation of one of the gods. And then on day 12, we will leave Muktinat. Well, on days 12 and 13, we're going to get from Muktinat to Jomsom and from Jomsom to Pokhara. But what we are going to do is that we are going to take this detour through all roads and small villages to reach Kalkbeni. That is the gateway to the forgotten kingdom of Upper Mustang. Would be look like this. When I start looking information the first time about Upper Mustang, this picture came into my screen. I was obsessed with this. So the first time we went to the Annapurna Circuit, I definitely needed to go here. It was something personal. And we took this detour and it was fantastic. Instead of following the road, we were following, normally people follow the road, but we took this detour through the villages and we arrived to this exactly viewpoint, and it was amazing. It was beautiful. And you have this blue river that we were seeing before and in this picture that comes straight from the kingdom of Mustang. It's called Kaligandaki River. That's amazing. Kalkbeni village is full of ancient temples with this kind of old alleys full of old statues, and it has this beautiful crop fields that depending on the season have one color on another. After lunch in here in Kalkbeni, we continue through the valley through here at the end of the picture all the way to Jomsom, where we will stay overnight. And the following day, we will wake up in Jomsom and we will take this flight to Pokhara. First time I did this trip from Jomsom to Pokhara, I used a bus, local bus. I think it was something like a lot, 8 hours or something. The flight takes 20 minutes. So it's a fastest option. So we will take the flight instead. It's a domestic flight and we will reach Pokhara in about 20 minutes. Pokhara is also really famous because of these images. It's a really picturesque valley with this huge lake near the place where we are going to be staying. We are going to be here doing a bit of relaxing. It's going to be the first time where we are going to be able to have a beer again, to have some fruit, to drink some really good things. And we are going to forget somehow a bit about these desert landscapes that we have been seeing the last 2 days for being in the middle of this kind of jungle or orchard full of life. On day 14th, we are leaving Pokhara towards Kathmandu by bus, and we will enjoy one last dinner in the city all together. We will try the local beer. If you like beer, I definitely love these Nepalese beer that they are almost 1 liter big. We will celebrate the end of the trail. We will have a dinner all together at the end. After staying the last day in a hotel in Kathmandu, we will take you to the airport for saying goodbye. This is Shubin Takure, a good friend. We will take you to the airport. We will say goodbye to this wonderful country, and you will be to your hometown. As we always like to say after a trip like this, what started as a group of strangers, we will get together and become more than just a group of friends. It will be almost like a family. Somehow, I would say that in my opinion, trips like this really change you. It forges friendships that are really, really hard to forget. And this would be the main itinerary for the trail. Then we are going to be talking about the altitude sickness. To be honest, we know that this is one of the biggest concerns when getting to Nepal. You can prevent it from happening, and that's the most important thing. The altitude sickness is the effect of this rapid exposure to low amounts of oxygen when you are in high elevation. So normally or typically it occurs over 2,500 meters. First time I saw someone having it was doing the Annapurna Circuit. There was this girl that she was hiking very, very, very fast, almost running with a small backpack, and there were some porters carrying her luggage. It was like a group of friends, not doing trail running, but almost. They were super fast. And we were hiking slowly, and when we arrived to this village, we found her lying on the floor on the tea houses. She was having a huge headache and a lot of fatigue, so the following morning she had to go back. And unfortunately, she hasn't been the only one I've seen along the years. So we have seen a strong woman turning around because of getting some symptoms like this ones that you can see on your screen right now. At the same time, I'm happy to say that in all these years, we have been always able to prevent getting altitude sickness, ascending super slowly, resting, and drinking a lot of tea. People who know me, they know that I'm a coffee lover as well as I love the local Nepali beer. But you can quit for many days in order to prevent this. So there's no need for smoke, there's no need for drinking alcohol or to drink coffee. You just have tea and you enjoy what you are getting of the country. You need to take this kind of things really serious. After the trail, we will celebrate. We will drink some beers. We will have Nepali coffee. That's not a problem. But while in the hike, you just need to do everything that is said in here. If you get one symptom, you have to stop. You need to rest. But if you get many symptoms, you will need to descend to avoid getting worse. We never had any problem with anyone, so it shouldn't be a problem. It is okay to get it. Okay, AMS, the altitude sickness, it's okay to have it. Your world is not gonna be completely destroyed. There's a lot of people having it every year. Even the strongest people can have it. But what is not okay is to risk your life. Never put your life in danger. So if you can prevent it, try. If you get it, stop. And if it's going worse, you need to go back. It's one of the good reasons for being with one local guide, with me and with Monica. So at the end, if something happened, we are going to be there. So someone can continue with the group, someone can stay with you, or someone, even if there's an emergency, can take you all the way back to Kathmandu. When hiking with us, and if you follow our indications, you will prevent getting the AMS. So no worries. How do we do it? Logistics of this trip. During the trip, we will stay in two kinds of accommodations. The first, the hotels in Kathmandu and Pokhara, that unfortunately I don't have any pictures. And then we are going to be staying in this kind of tea houses during the trip. The tea houses only have shared washing and toilet facilities. We will stay in twin rooms like the one in the picture in the left side. Every morning and every night we will have breakfast and dinner in this kind of large dining rooms that are shared between all the guests in the accommodation. They have this chimney in the middle of the room for heating everything up. A lot of people ask us about showers. Is it possible to get a shower? Personally, I do not recommend taking a shower at night, as you can get very cold while sleeping. We had this guy took a shower and he really got cold. On the following days, he was good. He was with a lot of snots, but he was doing good. Personally, I do not recommend taking shower at night. Also, not in every place you are going to get hot water. Well, at the end is your personal decision, but I would not recommend taking a shower in the night. Food in Nepal is out of this world. On the trip, all meals are included while we are hiking. During the stay in Kathmandu and Pokhara, the only thing included would be the breakfast. So everything else on you. You can choose whatever you want and according to your budget. But during the trip, you can choose whatever you want, but it's going to be covered by us. No alcoholic or cold drinks, like, for example, sodas or Coca-Cola or anything are included. Tea, breakfast, lunch, dinner during the trail, everything is included by us. Also, it's important to say that if you need any special food, such as vegan or gluten-free, you need to tell us before the trip. The logistics in Nepal are really limited in comparison with other countries. Sometimes special menus different to vegetarian are very difficult to find. So we need to know it first. For example, these two pictures would be my personal choices. For morning in the life, Tibetan bread, the masala and the eggs, and in the nights, fried rice with veggies. Transportation, we use both jeeps for getting to the beginning of the trail and bus for getting back to Kathmandu. Really important, we don't provide any kind of luggage transportation during the hike like porters. You will need to carry your own bag. It's really, really important to be minimalist. So now it's time for introduce you to Tom, that it's a good friend of ours. And he has traveled many times with us here in Iceland and many destinations. He's amazing. He's always here to show you what to bring to the trip. In any case, we will send you a gear list before coming. So you will have here a backpack, 40 liters maximum, because we are not going to get porters, and then a sleeping bag. As I said before, you can get a sleeping bag in Kathmandu if you prefer, and then your clothes. Important, purification tablets, water purification tablets, because you are going to need them for drinking water. And then we have these medical supplies. So there are many things like the Imodium, the anti-headache, antibiotics, anti-altitude sickness medication. You can find all of that in Kathmandu. So if you cannot find it in your home country, you can do it in Kathmandu. That's not a problem. All right, and we will take care of finding it for you. Frequently answered questions. So as always, do I need to be an extreme hiker for coming to the trip? The Annapurna Circuit trail is a moderate track. I would say that travelers who can walk up to 5, 6, 7 hours a day on kind of uphill, downhill trail will consider this trip very fulfilling, enjoyable. There's one day with over 700 meters of elevation gain. And I would say it would be a really good idea to prepare by jogging or hiking at least 1 month prior to coming to the trip. Okay, there is something even more important than all of this, that is to have really positive attitude and determination, as well of course good physical health. I would recommend being on that mood when coming to the trip. You really need to be determined and to have really positive attitude, because we are going to be hiking for many hours. We are going to be hiking in the middle of the mountain. And it's going to be beautiful, of course, but well, it's going to be different to any other kind of trails that you have done in your home country. Do I need any technical mountain gear? You don't, but you need good gear. Overall, you need good mountain boots, but not alpine boots, because we are not going to be using crampons. We're not going to be on top of any peak. So you don't need like alpine boots, okay? In my case, for example, I use leather boots, mountain leather boots that are really good from Scarpa. You need a good backpack, you need a good puffy jacket, and a really good sleeping bag. As I said before, if you need to buy a sleeping bag in Nepal, we can tell you where to go or where to get the best one. What happens if I get altitude sickness? In case of getting AMS, we will need to evaluate your condition. That would be the first thing. We would need to evaluate your condition and your symptom. If you have one small symptom, you will need to rest and take things easy. But if you're having many symptoms, you will need to descend, okay? And once this has been said, it actually answers somehow the following question. So yes, you will need to have special insurance for the trip that covers helicopter rescue over 4,000 meters high, okay? Most of the hiking travel insurances cover this, but in any case, if you have any question about travel insurance or book with which company, you can just simply ask us and we will tell you which ones we normally use. Okay, this would be like a bit of overview of the trip in 2022. So we are going on from April 5th to April 19th, and then from November 1st to November 15th. This would be the price. It's require a 30% deposit for signing up for the trip. And the group size is between 7 to 12 people. What is included? Well, it's easy. It's one guide from Amarok Adventures. And in this case, actually, we are going, Monica and I, we're both going. There's also one local Nepali guide, 2-star standard hotel in Kathmandu and Pokhara, tea house, basic accommodation during the hike, full board during the hike, all transportation and government taxes and permits. So all transportation doesn't mean just the buses or the jeeps, also the plane, the domestic flight, not the international. Okay, international flights are not included. But in any case, if you sign up for the trip or if you request information, we're going to send you all this included and not included information and dates and everything. I hope this presentation has inspired you. If you come with us or if you go by yourself, you're going to enjoy Nepal. You're going to love it and you're going to return, or you're going to want to return as much as you can, for sure. So hopefully we'll see you in Nepal next year.